A Brexit blow-up. Trump versus Clinton, and the gloves are off. In fact, there's practically blood on the floor. Donald Trump tweeting this. Crooked Hillary Clinton, who called Brexit 100% wrong, along with Obama, is now spending Wall Street money on an ad on my correct call. Here's the ad Trump is talking about.
Enormous shockwaves from Britain's historic vote to leave the European Union. Global markets are plummeting.
Every president is tested by world events. But Donald Trump thinks about how his golf resort can profit from them.
When the pound goes down, more people are coming to Turnberry.
Stocks tank around the world.
Brand new sprinkler system, the highest level.
He's talking about his new sprinkler system.
In a volatile world, the last thing we need is a volatile president.
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
Joining us now, Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump. Good evening, Eric.
Hey, Greta, how are you?
Good. So, Eric, let's start with the bottom of that ad where Secretary Clinton says that these are volatile times and we don't need a volatile president. She means your father. What do you say?
Well, it's absolutely amazing, right? The UK is our greatest ally. It's always been the nation's greatest ally, right? We won 2 world wars with them. And yet Obama goes out and says that they're going to the back of the line. The back of the line if, the trade deal, or if they, leave the EU. I mean, how crazy is this? They're our greatest ally, and he's effectively offending it. Why did he even have to opine?
Well, in the ad that Secretary Clinton also says that she quotes your father as saying when the pound goes down, meaning from the Brexit vote, that more people come to his golf course, and she was suggesting that he's more interested in his golf course than the American people and perhaps the British people.
Well, I don't think at all. I mean, I think they voted in the UK. They voted to leave the EU, and they voted for many of the same reasons, many of the same problems that we have here, right? They have rampant immigration. They have safety concerns. They don't think they're being represented well. There's tremendous red tape and inefficiency. I mean, they want their country back, and I think that's so many of the themes, quite frankly, Greta, you have right here in the U.S. I mean, it's very, very similar, and it's kind of economics 101, right? I mean, if the pound goes down, it allows more tourism to come into a country. It allows more foreign investment. It allows, outside people to come in and buy properties for less amount of money and reinvest in the society. I mean, that's kind of economics 101. I mean, that's why people devalue currency all the time. We see that happening all over the world. They do that for that exact reason. So that's just part of it. I mean, the people voted, something happened, the currency went down, and hey, maybe there's an opportunity that comes out of that. And I think that's exactly what my father was saying.
What do you make of the fact, though, that your father and Secretary Clinton are fighting over Brexit? This is a vote in the UK. This is, we got enough problems back here. I mean, we realize there's some implications for us here, but now the two of them are duking it out over the Brexit vote.
Well, listen, I think it's sad. I think, her administration and his administration, Obama's administration, has gotten absolutely nothing right. They can't feel the pulse of the people. Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State, who should know this stuff better than anybody, she called it wrong. She said that they were absolutely going to stay in. She didn't see this coming. I mean, she's too worried about going out and making $141 million while she was Secretary of State to actually get the pulse of the people, of our greatest ally. And that's really, really sad. And she called Syria wrong, and she called Libya wrong, and she called Iraq wrong. And, I mean, she hasn't made one correct decision, ever in her, in her long period of time in government. And, she clearly doesn't have the pulse of the people, either in the UK or certainly in this country, because we're facing the exact same issues that they just voted on. And my father's been talking about these issues for months and months and months.
Do you think that Senator Bernie Sanders, who has tapped into it on the Democratic side, he would have been a more formidable opponent for your father than Secretary Clinton? Because Senator Sanders clearly has tapped into the discontent as well. Well,
listen, he certainly was talking about trade. There's no question about it. And I think that's a common message with my father, right? We're being ripped off by so many countries around the world, whether it be the $500 billion trade deficit with China, the $80 billion trade deficit with Mexico, and the list goes on and on and on. And Bernie certainly, spent a lot of time talking about that. And, that's part of Brexit. I mean, they have major deficits. The trade deals, some of the trade deals aren't helping the UK. Some of the currency problems aren't helping the UK. Some of the problems like Greece and so many other countries, I mean, they're subsidizing and they're floating. Yeah, probably.
All right. Before I turn to another topic, I want to ask you is that John Roberts, one of my colleagues, says that tomorrow your father will say that he's in a speech that if he were president, he would instruct the Treasury Department to label China a currency manipulator, something the Treasury Department has never done before. Is he going to do that? And what do you make of that?
Listen, I think he's been saying that for a long time. He's been saying that China's been ripping off the United States, and quite frankly, they have been. Again, you look at the $500 billion trade deficit every year, right? They ship everything into the United States, but if we try and ship one good, one service into China, we can't do it. They devalue their currency. They take our jobs. They take our manufacturing. I mean, if you look at the manufacturing of the United States between 2000 and today, we've lost a third of our jobs. I mean, a third of our jobs have gone overseas to these countries because of that devaluation. And my father's been talking about this since the beginning, and it's something that he's incredibly passionate about. I mean, he wants to put America first again, and, you know, our leaders just aren't doing that, Greta. Our leaders just aren't doing that.
Eric, your father also appears to be massaging his originally proposed temporary ban on Muslims. In December, his proposal included all Muslims, but here's what he said to our own John Roberts this weekend in Scotland.
You gave a speech last week on the Muslim on your response to the Orlando terrorism shooting, and you said that countries with immigration will be blocked. Yeah, you said countries linked to Islamic terrorism will be blocked in terms of immigration. So would a Muslim coming from Scotland or Great Britain, have you tweaked your policy on that?
So Eric has his thoughts about Muslim and immigration and his ban. Has it been somewhat massaged? Is it somewhat, refined or narrowed?
Listen, I think as it pertains to a Muslim coming from Scotland, the difference with somebody of Muslim faith coming from Scotland is you can actually vet them. I think my father's biggest point was, hey, listen, if you have 200,000 Syrian refugees coming over to this country, they don't have files, they don't have documents, they're not in any kind of database, there's no records on these people. The CIA and the FBI and everybody else, and ISIS, quite frankly, has said that they've infiltrated those Syrian refugees. You can't vet those people. So, I mean, he's concerned about Muslims coming from terrorist-seeking nations, places that want to do harm to Americans, that want to have another, Orlando or San Bernardino or Brussels or any of these other attacks. I mean,
what about a Muslim coming from Brussels? Because that certainly has been a hotbed of terrorism. Would a Muslim coming from Brussels, would that be in his definition of a terrorist country or not?
Well, listen, possibly. I think part of his message also, Greta, for the longest time has been, let's pump the brakes until we can do the proper due diligence on these people, so we know that if people are coming into the United States, you have good people coming into the United States, you have safe people coming into the United States, you have people who embrace our culture, our values, believe in the American way of life, will acclimate and assimilate. I think that's all part of his message, but most of all, he wants to keep America safe.
Eric, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Greta. Great being with you as always.